Welcome back into the Vandy Sports Podcast on the 440 Sports Network. I'm your host, Billy Derrick, alongside Joey Dwyer. It is officially Virginia Tech Week. Football is back, and we're talking some Vanderbilt football today. We're going to just kind of jump around. We're going to rehash some of the storylines that we came up with before the season and see where we stand on those storylines and how some of them have fluctuated, stayed the same, or basically just where they stand right now with Vanderbilt football. But first, go to our sponsors. First, the Wash House. Are you dreading laundry day? Is it stealing time to do the things that you truly enjoy? Let the laundry professionals at the Wash House take care of that for you. We've got two convenient locations here in Nashville. Just drop off your dirty laundry, and their professional attendants can give you back the one thing you can never have enough of. That's your time. Within 24 hours, you can pick up your nicely folded, fresh and clean laundry ready to be put away. Log on to washhouseclean.com or stop in today and get your time back. Also, Sutherland and Belk, family-owned injury law firm. If your loved one has been hurt or in an accident, give Taylor or Russell a call, 615-846-6200 to see what your rights are and if they can help. Also, not baseball season, but all that content is brought to you by the Murfreesboro Pure Milk Company. For more info, visit their website at mpmci.com. And then also John Levin and the Maynard Nexen Government Contracts Group. Log on to maynardnexen.com. All right, Joey, let's hop back into some of those storylines that we assessed at the beginning of fall camp and said, okay, how does this pan out? Vanderbilt needs a big fall camp out of this player. And we're going to kind of go back to that original podcast. And I like the topic of which player needed or needs a big fall camp. And I want to kind of go back to that. And I'll kind of kick it to you do you think those guys that you thought needed big camps had big camps? And if not, how much impact do you think that has if they're not the type of players that Vanderbilt needs them to be this year?
Yeah, there's a couple guys I think I remember. Darren Agu was definitely one, and I have a hard time saying that he had a terrible camp. I think a lot of it was health related, and I think their main focus with him is just getting him more involved. But certainly wasn't a guy who jumped off the page at you throughout camp. I think their transfers on defense really needed to have a big camp, and I think Corday Sidner and Zaylen Wood showed us some things. I don't know if they had like excellent camps. I still don't think they have a difference maker on the defensive line after camp, and that was kind of what I was hoping for when we alluded to that storyline. Is that maybe the aspiration there in terms of saying they need a big camp out of Darren Agu or Issa Wataha was that somebody would emerge as like a difference maker in that room, and that didn't happen. I think offensively, you really needed a big camp from Cole Spence because you just needed some weapon, and I think there was some question with him as to like how good would he really be at a good spring, but how would it last for the rest of the fall? And he had a really, really good camp. I think they needed a wide receiver 3 to emerge, and I think we would both agree that we're not quite sure that that happened. I think the freshmen were probably a little better than we thought, but Loic Fungi, I think, was inconsistent at times. He thought he was fine some days, and then he made some plays, but Billy, I don't know that they had any like overwhelming great camp performances. I think the two ones that really stand out to me that as ones that were like awesome were Cole Spence and Brandon Fontenette. I thought Brandon Fontenette, I thought he was going to be a good player coming in, but he blew away my expectations throughout camp. I thought he was really, really good. He was all over the field. Brian Longwell, I thought was really good. I thought he was all over the field. But yeah, I don't know that there was a whole lot of like, man, that guy had a tremendous camp and he really needed it at this point. I feel like a lot of the guys who maybe got recruited over or fighting for spots that they've had in the past didn't have awesome camps, like a Darren Agu. Tyson Russell had some really good days, and I thought he had a better camp than I thought he would. But it's just like those guys at some point are what they are. And I'm not saying that with Agu because I think he's a guy who, when he gets healthy, could be a lot better than he has been. But yeah, I just don't know that there was like a standout guy that there was. I looked at it coming into camp like this guy needs to have a great camp, maybe a Prince Collie, and then they actually like did that. I think they had some fine days. Collie had some fine days, but I was still left searching for a good bit of things like a wide receiver 3, cornerback depth, and a difference maker on the defensive line. That's kind of what I was looking at going into fall camp, and I think I still have some question marks at all 3 spots.
Yeah, I remember going back and and asking the question, who emerges on defense or which leaders emerge on defense? Obviously, we already know about Langston Patterson and CJ Taylor, but you're going to need more than just two guys to be, emotional, physical, vocal leaders, all of the above for this defense. And a guy that I didn't even really talk about, and we didn't talk about a ton, even coming into fall camp, was Marlon Sewell, who has put in his time here. I don't think he's the sexiest player. Like he's not going to go out there and have have 3 or 4 tackles for loss every game, but he's gonna be in the right spots, and I think he's gotten better. And I think Clark Lee trusts him and the rest of the defensive staff to go in there. I don't know that he starts, but he is a captain alongside CJ Taylor, so could be an indication that he will at least start that game against Virginia Tech, but maybe not. Who knows? I mean, maybe they're rotating a ton on defense. Is another overall theme here, is that you're going to see a ton of guys on defense for Vanderbilt this year. But, Colby Taylor is a guy that I think coming into camp, I was really intrigued to just see him, because you didn't see him. Was he in spring?
He was in spring ball, but he wasn't as impactful as he was in the fall.
Yeah, I mean, that tells you I don't even remember really him standing out a ton in spring ball. But that you could say that about a lot of guys. Spring ball was pretty ugly for this program. But you get into the fall and you see certain guys emerge. One of those was Colby Taylor, whether it's the scrimmages, but you just hearing him. I mean, he's vocal. He is a leader. Obviously, you've got to wrangle that in and tame him, at times, of course. But I look at Colby Taylor as a guy that, again, we probably mentioned, but I don't know that we were sitting here saying, man, Colby Taylor has to, well, maybe we were, but it's not like it was heavily on my radar, because I was also thinking about other corners like a Martell Height, or even Trudell Berry. And I was just wanted to see Colby Taylor, just wanted to see what he was all about. Well, we've seen it now, and I think he's going to be an impactful player for this defense. But I think the cornerback room, now again, it's Vanderbilt on Vanderbilt. It's easy to say this now, but Trudell Berry has been better. Joey, Tyson Russell, he kind of is who he is. He's good. He's more of a run defender type. I do think they will still struggle in coverage at times. I just don't think it's going to be as consistently bad, as it was last year. I think that's a good thing. So I look at Sewell and then Taylor as a couple of guys that I think have emerged and have gotten better throughout camp and will help that secondary. And proof is in the pudding with Sewell being one of the captains. I'm not surprised by that. Sewell he's impressed me whenever we've talked to him, and he's been a guy that has really stepped into a leadership role, and he's been here a while now. I mean, he's been in this program. I want to say he played for Coach Mason that last year. He was here. So one of the rare holdovers from the Mason staff is still here. And I look at that, Joe. I look at Sewell being a captain as indication he'll probably start. And then, you look at Colby Taylor, a guy that has emerged. And I think I do remember talking, he's gonna have to step up, right? He's gonna have to play well. And I think he has. I think he's been that impactful guy that fans wanted him to be.
Yeah, I think we talked about that question before camp. Who are the two, or who is anybody who is going to step into being like a difference maker on defense? The two that I had pinpointed, one, Brandon Fontenette has turned out to be a stud. He's turned out to be everything I think they've asked for and more. Colby Taylor, I think, has kind of fit that description as well, as a guy who has stood out. I don't know if he is the answer to the question, the age-old question, how many Vanderbilt players would start on other SEC teams, but I think he's one of their better players on that side of the ball. And those are the two guys who I look at besides Patterson and CJ Taylor who have emerged as like real difference makers on that side of the ball. I don't know how much Taylor is going to be during the season, and we haven't seen Fontenette play, but throughout practice, I thought those were two guys who consistently impressed me with their energy and just their activeness throughout the fall. So those are the guys on defense. I think offensively, biggest storyline of fall camp, the quarterback battle. But I think we got our resolution there, and maybe not officially at this point. And I don't know if it'll be official until the guy runs out for the first snap of the Virginia Tech game. But I think Diego Pavia, especially towards the end of camp, kind of asserted himself as quarterback one. He took command of the offense. He seemed to be the natural leader of the team. He was a consistent leader, as Clark Lee said. And I have a hard time seeing anybody else being quarterback one on Saturday. And I would be kind of stunned if anybody else ran out there. I think the interesting thing, too, is the quarterback two battle. I think Drew Dickey has really emerged there. I thought he had a really good end to camp. And throughout camp, we kind of talked about this. At the start, it was Pavia and Johnson are kind of close, but Pavia just started consistently having better days throughout the fall. And I think Drew Dickey really gained some ground on Johnson throughout the fall as well.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the quarterback situation, Drew Dickey at times, we mentioned this, it looked like the best quarterback on the team. Nate Johnson was not very impressive this fall. I think you look back and you would have expected a better camp from him, to be more encouraged by what you might see this season offensively, but you didn't. And now, your room is what it is. It's Pavia, Dickey, and then Johnson. That's how I'd put it right now. And so, it is what it is. And I do think Nate Johnson is going to play. We'll just have to see what kind of, packages he's in for. I think he definitely will be. But we'll see. And do you want to, I don't know. That's going to be really interesting. Like if Pavia goes down, we both think it's Dickey, but I mean, that's going to be really interesting to me to track that. But obviously, hopefully Pavia doesn't go down. Yes, obviously Pavia is the guy. I think I knew that after the first couple of fall camp practices that Pavia was the guy. So yeah, offensively, let's go there. Where's the hope for this offense, Joey? Like what in fall camp do you look at and go, okay, I saw that. And I think this offense could do some things this year.
Yeah, I think the number one probably positive storyline was Cole Spence throughout the fall. I thought he was really good. I thought he was their best offensive player. And then Eli Stowers stepped up as camp went on too. So I really like what they have at the tight end position. That's my number one source of optimism. That can be a safety blanket for them. If the offensive line play isn't good, they can dump it to tight ends. They can obviously connect with those guys. Diego Pavia and Cole Spence seem to build a real rapport throughout camp. And I think the offensive line play will be better. And that's probably something that is one of my more positive takeaways from the fall is you look at those scrimmages and at times they were actually able to move the ball on the ground, which I don't know if they were able to do much of last year. I think Cedric Alexander didn't get as many reps throughout camp as he did last year, but I thought when he got him, he was pretty impressive. There was the breakaway run in the scrimmage. He hurdled Tucker right for a touchdown earlier in camp. So I'm expecting a big year from him. I'm expecting a better year from the offensive line as well. It just seems like they have more capable bodies there. I don't know that they're going to be awesome because there are some holdovers on the offensive line from a group that wasn't good last year. But, I think their talent level is improved there. And I do have questions about how it works against Virginia Tech because I don't think it's going to be super cohesive against a defensive line that is pretty well regarded as Virginia Tech's deepest position group, if not receiver. So that's my concern with that. But overall, I thought the running game was a little bit better than I thought it would be going into the fall, although I didn't have very high expectations. I think the passing game I still have some real questions about, especially the downfield passing game, but I like what they've got at tight end. I thought the offensive line was a little bit better than I thought it would be, but that's not a guarantee it'll be better throughout the year because they've got to get a little bit more cohesion. And like I said, the personnel is different, but not quite as different as maybe you would have thought at this point. So, Billy, it's interesting, but I do think there are some things to look at offensively that are positives, but overall throughout the fall, I wasn't super excited about what I saw offensively.
Yeah, I think what gets me about this offense is that they're going to be game control, slow the game down, manage the clock, shoe clock. That's what they're going to be. They're going to possess the football. So it's going to be very different from your modern day college offense. And so obviously it's nothing about this team this year is going to be sexy or look good to watch or necessarily maybe be fun to watch. But what they want to do is muck up the game and make it ugly. That's how they won 2 SEC games a couple of years ago. And that is still the formula to muck up games because you're not going to outscore anybody, really. I mean, if like in the SEC, today's SEC, maybe Mississippi State and Arkansas, but that's really it. You're not going to go out and put up 45 points against Auburn and expect to win. So they've switched that, and I think good on them. We go back a couple of years ago, like I said, that's how this team won, and so you look at the quarterback position as the most encouraging sign. That's what Virginia Tech fans are scared of. That's what everyone's going to be scared of when they play Vanderbilt. Oh, can't let Pavia get loose today, right? So like Diego Pavia and what he does and his control of the offense is the story. Who's going to step up, right? Can Cole Spence be a consistent target? Can he catch the football consistently? He's going to need to break some tackles too. I mean, can he be that dude on offense? And if he is, it's great news. Can Cole Stowers be that sort of that secondary option as a receiver type? I mean, he's going to be playing some receiver. And so I look at that as, all right, how is he involved? Receiver-wise, it's hard to envision them having a great year at receiver. Skinner and Sherrill have to do their part, whatever that means. I'm not even really sure what that means, but they've got to be somewhat involved. You can't be non-existent. I think Richie Hoskins, again, is a captain. He's going to start. Like, am I wrong in saying that the captains aren't going to start?
I don't know that it's like a given, but I would think Hoskins will get on the field in the first couple of plays at the very least. The only captain, I haven't seen all of them like in the last couple of minutes, but I would think Sewell's the one who might not, but I also could see him starting as well. So I don't know if that's a given, but I think there's a pretty good chance if they're named captains, right?
Yeah. So that I just wonder. I'm not stupid for that, but either way, like
safety's the position on the depth chart on Tuesday that I'm interested to see who's starting opposite CJ Taylor, because I really am not sure at this point.
No idea. Also, the other corner, is it Martell Hyde or Trudell Berry? Mm-hmm. But yeah, Hoskins, I think, is a guy that's going to catch some balls this year and do some things. Running back position, there's some question marks at your two pretty important positions. You don't know what you're going to get at receiver. You don't know what you're going to get at running back. And I might push back a little bit. Like I do think Cedric Alexander will be fairly consistent. But if he goes down, who's behind him? You got Monty Jones, Newberry struggled with ball security. You got to take care of the football. So that's what gives me hope offensively. But again, it's not going to be, this is not going to be Vanderbilt going out there and putting up 35, 40 points and beating teams. They're going to beat teams, if they do, 23-17. I mean, like that's how they're going to win games this year, especially in the SEC when you're playing teams that will average upwards of 30, 40 points. But Joey, let's go to that. Depth chart will be released tomorrow. You mentioned safety. I'm also interested to see who is in that other safety spot. I honestly don't know. It's obviously either Dante Carter or Marlon Sewell. Does it matter, really? I don't think so. But because like a lot of times with the Clark Lee defense is the starter and the second team guy play equally. Mm-hmm. A lot of games, especially at a lot of positions. I think we're settled at linebacker. Corner, Colby Taylor is going to start one of those spots. Is it Martell Hyde or Tyson Russell? I think is the question over there. I don't know. I mean, I would venture to guess it's Martell Hyde because I've liked him in camp more than Tyson Russell. And then defensively, I think the front four. I think I've got the front four. I think you would agree. Mm-hmm. Issa Wataha, Corday Sidnor, Zaylen Wood, and Miles Capers. Is that?
Yeah,
that's the fourth. Okay,
that's probably what I
so really two guys,
but I don't know.
Yeah, really two guys. I think we're trying to figure out two positions. The other safety alongside CJ Taylor, and then the other corner alongside Colby Taylor. And then offensively, I think it's pretty settled. I mean, offensive line, of course. Who's that fifth guy? Or I guess the second guard is a weird situation on the offensive line. Positionally, with switching sides, that's going to be confusing for fans. We've tried to spread the word on that, but obviously it's going to be interesting to see. Gunnar Hansen, you would expect, is going to start. Stephen Losoya at center. I thought Stephen Hubbard would be a guy that would start.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he starts. I mean, which is crazy to me. And then the other side, who's the tackle? I'm getting it mixed up right now.
Mitchell.
Yeah, Chase Mitchell, Hansen, and Losoya are the three guys that I think we know for sure are going to start.
Yeah, and then
those other two guys, I mean, it gets interesting.
Because I think stock up on Castillo and Wesley recently as well.
Yes. So look for them to be guys that are in there and at least playing a lot. Keep an eye on Hubbard. I'm not sure where Hubbard will fit in here. That's offensively. And then I think special teams wise, your punter is Jesse Mirko, kicker Brock Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
I will be interested to see who returns punts and kicks. I think Martell Height will probably return punts.
Mm-hmm.
And then Height and Sherrill return kicks. I know Micah Bell has been back there at times, but I mean, Height and Sherrill, I would guess Joe return kicks. Although Clark in the past has liked to have a running back there.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Newberry's back there as well. But yeah, I don't know if there's any other position battles you're looking forward to seeing tomorrow.
I guess quarterback too, but they're not going to name anything there at this point. I think he's going to be pretty secretive about that until the first half of Virginia Tech game. I wonder if that gets officially broken by a Pete Thamler or something pregame, but I wouldn't expect anything on Tuesday or in that press conference them to name anybody. I think they've been pretty transparent that they're not going to do that. Billy, before we get off, we should probably talk generalities with both sides of the ball. Want to talk defense, want to talk offense. I think their defense, if I were to guess, would be improved. I think it's pretty hard to be not improved from a defense that was 129th out of 133 teams last year and points given up per game. But I think their talent level's improved. I think their depth is a bit improved. And I'm not one of the guys that's going, they've got incredible depth or whatever, but I do think they have some more bodies that that can help them. And I think they're a little bit more able to counteract injury. I think they have more actual playmakers this year. Patterson's going to be a playmaker. Taylor's going to be a playmaker. Fontenette's going to be one. There's at least three guys on the defense who are going to be around the ball a lot. And I think that's something that's really going to help them. Offensively, though, I think it's probably lower than what I had thought. The stock is lower coming into camp. I like the ball security style offense, but I just have some concerns about them having to play from behind. What if somebody goes and scores on the first two drives and Vandy's down 14-0? And probably don't have much of a chance in a game like that. And I don't know that the ball security was excellent throughout camp either. I think it was fine. But if you're going to run an offense like that, it's got to be excellent. So the offense I'm stuck down on compared to other people and compared to what I thought coming into camp. Defense, I would say, stock's a little bit up from where I thought. I mean, when Ricky Wright is a guy who might not even start for you, I think you're in fine shape. But it's not going to be a top half defense. It's going to be better, though, from what I would think. And the offense, I'll believe it when I see it with the offense.
Yeah, I mean, the offense is still a question mark. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm confident in this offense. But at the same time, you've got a brand new signal caller, a brand new play caller in there, and it gives you a shot. This is what Clark had to do. You had to essentially clean house, and it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of an impact the New Mexico State wave has. You're playing a really good team week one, so you're probably not going to see the fruits of it week one, but I think down the stretch of this season is when you could see that in terms of play calling and game management and just figuring out what works. I mean, that's what they have to do, Joe. You got to figure out what works with this team. Defensively, I'm not super worried, and I say that I'm talking about the winnable SEC games. Vanderbilt's not going to compete with Tennessee, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, teams like that. but they can compete. I think what this defense will do this year is they will compete against South Carolina, Kentucky, and Auburn, and they will give you a chance to win. It'll be up to the offense this year whether this team gets to 4 or 5 and God forbid 6 wins. It's up to the offense. I think is what I'm looking at. Special teams will be fine. Special teams have been pretty good under Clark Lee, other than some punt return muffs and just mindless mistakes here or there. So that's the other thing, Joey. You got to clean up your act. Vanderbilt has to clean up their act. I mean, there were way too many mistakes last year, and so that's I think the biggest thing on offense, ball security, like we've talked about. So I think stock up on defense. Obviously, offense is just stagnant. Like that's a stock that just hasn't really moved. I wouldn't say it's gone down, but I wouldn't say it's really gone up much either. But if it can go up, if that offense stock starts going up, Joey, that's when we have something to talk about this year in terms of this team competing for bowl eligibility. But that to me right now is a big if. It's a big ask. Do you have enough weapons? You got to have players around your quarterback. And I just don't know if Vanderbilt has enough this year, but we'll see. I mean, Cole Spence has been really good in fall camp. The receivers, I just think it's an interesting mystery to try to crack. Who's going to pop out of that receiver room? I mean, Skinner and Sherrill will do things, but after that, Fungi, Wiley, Hoskins, you got to have a third guy step up. That's a negative that a third guy hasn't stepped up, Joey, in fall camp, that we can't sit here and name, here are their 3 guys, boom. You should be able to do that. In the SEC, they were able to do it last year, but maybe in a weird inverse way, it's good that we can't do that this year, because you could do that last year. And obviously that didn't work out. That style of having 3 really good receivers somehow at Vanderbilt didn't work out. And they've gone the opposite way. So who knows? Maybe within this style, within this offense, you only need 2. They do have 2 tight ends. So, I mean, you could kind of mesh those 2 positions, receiver and tight end. And it could be interesting. But either way, Joey, stock, I think, up defensively. Offense, we're waiting and seeing, and that's kind of a stagnant stock. I think we'd both agree. Joey, I'll toss it to you to give some parting thoughts. Obviously, Virginia Tech week, Saturday, 11 a.m. at First Bank Stadium. We've got the presser tomorrow with Clark Lee, and I think a few players will be made available as well. Correct, Joey?
That would be correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so we'll have content all week. We'll have the roundtable later. That'll come out on Thursday, and then I would guess we'll do something with Will as well to get that out. And I'll have a pregame show. Not sure when that'll be coming out, whether it's either Friday or Saturday morning. I would hope it's Friday, but I'll have that out obviously with the Virginia Tech expert, which is going to be fun. But Joey, it's game week and big week, big game coming for the Commodores.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more this week, but this is their opportunity to prove a lot of things, and a proof of concept could come this weekend, Billy. Like, this is their opportunity to show that, maybe not that they've arrived, but that what they're doing and the processes that they've put in place are worthwhile, and anything can happen in week 1. I would bet that Virginia Tech would win that game, maybe by a little bit, but this is Vanderbilt's chance to prove it and prove that this isn't the same program that it was last year, prove that things are different now, and that they've got a lot of things going for them that they didn't a year ago. So it's going to be a really interesting test to see kind of how that all plays out, but it's a big week for Vanderbilt football, and I think this is one of their bigger games of the year, just kind of seeing what they've got at this point. And I think the fall had a much higher level of play than the spring did, and I think if you're a Vanderbilt fan, that's something not to take for granted, because if they played like they did in the spring, they wouldn't even have a chance this week. But I think the overall talent level is higher now than it was in the spring. I think the level of play as a whole is higher. I just have my questions about how high that level can really get, but it's got to come together quickly for this team. It's a big test this weekend, and a game that I think is going to hold a lot of importance for them moving forward.
As much as I can't wait to see what happens on Saturday between Vanderbilt and Virginia Tech, I can't wait for our last-minute thoughts.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Early. It'll probably be, 8 a.m. at least at the latest?
Up too, knowing knowing how week 1 works.
Yeah, we got to get out there before the sun comes up. But yeah, the weather should be interesting to track as well. It probably likely come into factor depth wise with both teams really. So we'll get a really good look at Vanderbilt and Virginia Tech on Saturday. We'll continue talking about that one, previewing that matchup. But just wanted to catch up and rehash some of the fall camp storylines and see where they're at right now. But where the Vandy Sports Podcast is at right now is, we're getting ready for football season. It's right here upon us. Here's how you can help keep our podcast free. Give the podcast a review and a 5-star rating. It helps us get noticed. Subscribe to our Vandy Sports YouTube channel. And if you're interested in sponsoring the show, email Chris Lee at chrislee70@gmail.com. For Joey Dwyer, I'm Billy Derrick. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you again soon with more episodes of the Vandy Sports Podcast.